what if I told you that empaths attracting narcissists isn't just random bad luck? No, it's a precise psychological pattern. A pattern that the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung discovered over 80 years ago. Recent studies show that a staggering 73% of highly empathetic individuals report being in repeated relationships with narcissistic partners. But here's the crucial insight. The one that modern psychology is just now catching up to. This is not a sign of weakness or poor judgment. It's actually your psyche, your deepest self, attempting to complete an ancient and profound healing process. Jung called this shadow integration. It's a pattern that has been hidden in plain sight, operating in the unconscious minds of millions. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this magnetic, often destructive pull exists. You'll learn how to recognize the shadow work that is calling out to you. And most importantly, you'll discover how to finally break the cycle without sacrificing your greatest gift, and that's your empathy. This knowledge has been so transformative for thousands of empaths, helping them turn their most painful relationships into their greatest source of personal power. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share in the next few minutes could completely reframe how you understand your relationships, your past, and your purpose as an empath. Let's begin with one of Jung's most revolutionary discoveries about the human mind. He found that we are all unconsciously driven to seek out relationships that will force us to confront our shadow. That's those parts of ourselves that we have rejected or suppressed or never allowed ourselves to fully develop. So for you, as an empath, what do you think is in your shadow? Well, it's often qualities like, healthy selfishness, or the ability to enforce strong boundaries without apology, and even the simple power to say no without feeling a wave of guilt, right? These are the very traits that a narcissist appears to possess in absolute abundance. So when you first meet a narcissist, you're not just attracted to them, you are unconsciously attracted to a missing piece of yourself that they seem to embody. Now, here's where the mechanism gets truly fascinating. The narcissist is just as drawn to you. And why? Well, it's because you represent their disowned shadow, the capacity for genuine empathy, for authentic vulnerability, for real, deep emotional connection. You can think of it as a psychological contract, one that's written in the invisible ink of the unconscious mind. Think back to your first encounter with a narcissistic partner. Do you remember how they seemed so incredibly confident, so self-assured, so emotionally independent? They seemed to have everything you felt you lacked. I'm here to tell you that this is not a coincidence. It's your psyche, in its infinite wisdom, recognizing an opportunity to become whole. It's an opportunity for shadow integration. But let's go a layer deeper, because for most empaths, this pattern is rooted in what I call the helper's wound. This is often a childhood pattern where love and approval were conditional. You learned very early on that your value was tied to how much you could give, how much you could fix, or how well you could heal the pain of others. This creates a powerful yet painful paradox. You develop this extraordinary gift of empathy as a survival mechanism, but you also, in the process, develop a secret addiction to being needed. Jung observed that our greatest strengths often stand as monuments over our deepest wounds. Your empathy, as genuine and beautiful as it is, may also be the guardian of a terrified inner child who learned that their worth depended entirely on their usefulness to others. A narcissist can sense this wound from a mile away. They instinctively know that you will work overtime to earn their love, that you will accept the smallest breadcrumbs of affection, and that you will ultimately blame yourself when things inevitably go wrong. This isn't always a conscious, villainous manipulation. No, it's often just two wounded psyches recognizing a perfect, tragic fit. I've seen this in hundreds of my cases. The empath enters the dynamic believing they are there to save the narcissist, while the narcissist enters believing they are entitled to an endless supply of validation. Both are unconsciously and desperately trying to heal their own original trauma through the other person. Now, here's where Jung's insights become truly life-changing. Every single quality that you despise in the narcissist is in fact a projection of your own disowned shadow material. Yeah, let me say that again. What you can't stand in them, it points to something you need to find in yourself. When they are shamelessly selfish, it confronts your own inability to prioritize your own needs. When they are manipulative, it forces you to face the subtle ways you might try to control situations through, say, excessive giving or people-pleasing. This is precisely why these relationships feel so intensely triggering. You're not just reacting to their bad behavior, you are being forced to look in a mirror at the parts of yourself you have spent a lifetime trying to avoid. And here is a breakthrough insight. The narcissist's cruelty often perfectly mirrors the voice of the inner critic you've been carrying since childhood. Their external voice becomes the living embodiment of your harshest self-judgments. Wow, they finally say out loud what your inner critic has only been whispering for years. If any of this is resonating with you, if you're feeling that jolt of recognition, I encourage you to take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It really helps this message reach others who need to hear it. We're diving deep into the hidden psychology of relationships, into patterns that most people never ever recognize in their own lives. This brings us to the most empowering point of all. The relationship with the narcissist is not meant to work out, it's meant to wake you up. Jung called this sacred process individuation, the journey of becoming conscious of our unconscious patterns so that we can finally make different choices. Every time a boundary was violated, it was a lesson teaching you exactly where your boundaries need to be. Every act of manipulation was a spotlight on how you may have been manipulating yourself through self-neglect. Every single moment of their selfishness was a desperate plea from your own soul, asking you to develop a healthy, robust self-regard. The empaths who successfully navigate this and integrate their shadow work, they all report something remarkable. They maintain their deep, compassionate nature, but they now have it anchored in an unshakable core of self-respect. They can love deeply, but without losing themselves. They become what Jung called the individuated person, someone who has courageously integrated both their light and their shadow into a conscious, authentic whole. So, how do you actually break this magnetic pattern? Well, Jung's answer might surprise you. You don't fight the shadow. You don't kill it, you don't eliminate it, you integrate it. This means consciously and intentionally developing the positive aspects of what the narcissist represented. Things like healthy self-interest, the establishment of clear, firm boundaries, and the ability to prioritize your own well-being with an ounce of guilt. The empaths who finally stop attracting narcissists are the ones who have learned to be, in a sense, selfish, but selfish in the highest service of their own good. They have integrated their shadow not by becoming cruel, but by becoming complete. They no longer need external validation from anyone to feel worthy, because they finally built their own internal validation system, brick by brick. Here's a practical application you can start today. Begin to notice when you are giving from a place of emptiness versus a place of overflow. Practice saying no, and don't follow it with a long justification. Set a boundary not as a way to punish someone, but as a radical act of self-care. Each of these small actions is a powerful step in integrating your shadow in a healthy, life-affirming way. When an empath successfully completes this profound inner work, something truly beautiful happens. You become what Jung called the wounded healer, a person who can guide others through their darkness precisely because you have navigated your own. Your empathy becomes more potent than ever before because it is now grounded in solid self-knowledge, not in an unconscious need to be needed. You finally stop attracting narcissists because you are no longer unconsciously seeking to be completed by another person. Your shadow has been owned, your wounds have been acknowledged, and your empathy has evolved from a survival mechanism into a conscious, deliberate choice. This is why the relationship with the narcissist, as agonizing as it is, can serve a sacred purpose in your psychological and spiritual development. It is the fire that forges you, forcing you to meet yourself completely, your light and your shadow, your strength and your vulnerability, the giver and the receiver, all in one. So let me wrap this up with Jung's most profound insight on this entire topic. What we resist most fiercely in others is often what we most desperately need to integrate within ourselves. The narcissist in your life was not your punishment. In a strange, cosmic way, they were your teacher, showing you with painful clarity exactly where your most important psychological work needed to be done. The pattern can be broken, but it is only through consciousness, not through avoidance. Your empathy is a superpower, but it only becomes truly powerful when it is balanced with healthy selfishness and unbreakable boundaries. Now, here's a question we'd like you to think about. If the narcissist was a mirror, what one quality were they reflecting back to you that your soul is now asking you to integrate in a healthy way? Leave a comment below and share your insights. Your story might just be the one that another empath needs to hear today. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, your sensitivity is not your weakness. It is your greatest strength, just waiting to be fully owned. Until next time, keep growing and keep healing.